In a world where we have so many different news stories hitting us, it's important to be able to respond to each one with a Christian rubric. If you are a Christian conservative, if you're a conservative, you're still probably using a ultimately Christian rubric if you have any intellectual consistency. Today, we're going to take 3 different news stories and hit them with that. We're going to go over some history and Nikki knows facts from 1901 to 1920. We're going to go over some new developments with the NFA and the ATF and what they mean and how a conservative and Christian should think about those. And of course, we're going to get to a song review, hopefully, and God willing, we'll get to the screw tape letters today, finally, after a while. John Arthur for Further Everyday Signature Philosophy. To my right, I've got Miss Nikki. How's it going?
It is good. Today's a good day.
Amen.
Today's a good day to have a good day.
It's a good day to have a good day. I always tell people, some people say, I can't share the gospel, I don't do much. Look, I start with at the register or just talking to people at the door. They say, they say, how's your day going? I said, any day where I'm on this side of the grass is a gift from God.
That's correct.
And so that you'd be surprised how often that leads into an apologetic or even a salvific conversation. It's worthwhile. To my left, I got Charlie. How's it going, sir?
I be here, and it's the first Sunday in May.
Happy Sunday.
Thank you very much.
Happy May.
April showers bring May flowers.
Yep, that's it.
And we had some April showers.
We had some.
A premature May the 4th be with you. And so to the left, we got Steve. How's it going?
You bet, man. I am here ready to rock and ready to be politically incorrect, brother.
All right. And so on that note, happy Minko de Sayo. Over to Mr. Producer. How's it going, Ryan?
I'm pretty good, John Arthur. How are you?
Oh my
today,
God,
sir?
I can't believe
He doesn't know how to respond to that. Okay. The happy Cinco de Mayo. May the 4th be with you. All that good stuff for May. Now, this last week, obviously, we covered the assassination attempt number 3 or number 6, depending on how you qualify it, because during Trump's first term, there were multiple assassination attempts that no one really covered. Go see our episode on that if you want to. But I'll just say this. We're living in a culture that is getting more and more corrosive. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people do not have their brains engaged and they're following whatever is said, whatever propaganda is said. And what's worse about it is that our representatives have this mindset of they are fishing for the clip. And that's all they're attempting to do. If you miss this clip with our lovely blue-haired senator, I use that word lovely very, very lightly. Actually, she's a congresswoman. Let's go ahead and play it because this is a fantastic clash between a congresswoman and our new director of the EPA. Go ahead and throw cut number 1 up, Mr. Producer.
The budget proposal reads like a climate change denier's manifesto. When climate change is flooding our streets, poisoning our air, driving up healthcare and disaster costs, how can the EPA justify abandoning that duty to protect Americans to appease polluters under the false flag of economic growth?
Following the law, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, where does it say anything about fighting global climate change? Loper Bright, Supreme Court case, you familiar with it?
No, I maybe others are. I'm not, but let me ask.
But that's really important. As a member of Congress, Loper Bright says that we as an agency don't have the authority to get creative if Section 202 of the Clean Air Act.
No, but you don't have, excuse me, you do not have the right to say climate change does not exist, that it's a hoax, and that's where this administration
I understand you're upset that you don't know what Loper Bright is. Do you know what the major policies doctrine is?
I'm upset because...
You know what the major policies doctrine is?
No, let me just...
You're a member of Congress. You should know.
Well, you have moved from someone who defended the environment to all of a sudden...
Being very defensive about not knowing the 2 biggest landmark Supreme Court cases of the last year with regards to your question.
You're very defensive about changing your policy and your positions with regard to the environment.
Okay.
Now, you just tell
You want me to tell you what the 2 biggest Supreme Court cases are of the last few years?
That's what I want you
Michigan
to
versus EPA.
Whoa.
West Virginia versus EPA.
You're here because you need money from us. So halt for the second and wait for the question.
Notice how she goes for this.
I answered your question, and you didn't like my answer because you don't know what Loper Bright is, because you don't know what the major policies doctrine is. because you're asking me
Question.
you're asking me about Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and you don't read it. You don't know what it says.
Listen, and what you want to do is to deny. You want
No, I actually read the law. I do my homework.
really.
You're just somebody who likes to have the microphone on. You know what I have to do? I read the law.
No,
I read the
Mr.
Supreme Court cases.
And I would say
No, we should do for your constituents is actually read statute.
budget is at real risk.
Read
Let
your
me tell
Supreme
you,
Court.
This is the Appropriations Committee.
Oh,
you come here.
you care about science? Now you're threatening to defund it?
Oh my God! No, you don't fund.
Because you don't know what Loper Bright is. Because you don't know what the Major Policies Doctrine is. Your message to our folks at the EPA is that you wanted to fund us.
Listen to this BS.
BS. You think I made up these cases?
So thank you, Mr. Producer. Lee Zeldin is who you're listening to from the EPA there. And I have to say, that is a masterclass in trolling.
Masterclass.
That is a masterclass in apologetics, having a reasoned answer for what you believe. And he very, very articulately stops her and says, you're not going to answer my question about the repeal of Chevron deference. Okay. Why are you not doing XYZ? Says, and someone asked in the chat, what is that thing? SSRIs, sadness, and cats. That's what you're looking at. Ultimately, the failure of society to provide this representative who was elected by her peers, apparently, with the necessary structure to become a good person. That's what you're looking at. That is the ultimate pinnacle of what our society is producing. All of the millennials are ending up looking like that as they get older. I know she's older than a millennial, but she is on the cusp of that, or not the cusp, the cutting edge of that. She early adopted a lot of the lies that the millennial generation looked like. As we get older, we're going to see more of these people in Congress.
Canadian bacon on. That's what happens when you don't eat your vegetables, LOL. Yeah.
She shriveled up like a prune.
She shriveled.
She should have eaten more bacon.
She had no idea
pretty good.
how to respond.
Because she doesn't know the law.
Worse, she doesn't care.
She doesn't
She
care.
doesn't care.
She's specifically focused on, I want you to do X, Y, Z. And what he says is, wait a minute, Loper Bright prevents me from legislating. He is about to get to, that's your job. You have to pass this through Congress, but he never got to even say that.
Exactly. You're hitting it on nail on the head,
You
John
have
Arthur.
to pass this. So Lee Zeldin, head of the EPA, can't even get to the point of saying, look, if you want this implemented, the bureaucrats can't be the ones that do it. Lee Zeldin's a bureaucrat, but he knows who he is. He knows what he is. He knows what his job is. And most importantly, what it is
Isn't.
not.
Correct.
He understands that. And he says, do you understand that we can't shove this garbage through without a vote by those who were elected to represent the people? That's you, Miss Rosa. That is you specifically. Now, what she doesn't get is any of it because she has no concept.
She's there for her
She's
click.
there for
She's there for the
propaganda.
she's there for the click. She's there to get that extra little bit of notoriety.
Here's the problem. You can only ride talking points for so long. Facts
Yeah.
do not have feelings. And one thing my mother always said, truth has a way of raising its ugly head in front of you when you're least expecting it.
Yeah.
And she got faced with some truth and she wasn't prepared to handle it.
Truth.
And so, and so she knows, okay, I've got to get these clicks because I got to get these donations. I got to make it look like I'm fighting for
I
these
gotta
Democrats.
pump this
Yes.
up.
And so this anger from the Democrats,
I
They-
stick to Lee Zeldin.
yeah,
gonna
they
be the
they
ending.
know what they're doing and they know they got to look bad. I'm really giving it to them, even though they know it's a lie and it's deception.
Do your research.
Mhm.
Hey, Erica Kirk murdered Charlie and got this guy to commit the murder, take the fall for it, and involve Israel also she could take over Turning Point. I'm just asking questions. Maybe we, if we actually did some research, we would say, wait a minute, where are those connections? And if you look at the Egyptian airplane, guys, do your own research because that's what the Democrats don't do. They don't do their own research. That's how we have reps like Rosa elected by Democrats is because they don't watch both sides of the clip. They don't go and investigate what the heck is Loper Bright. And we're going to talk about Loper Bright in just a moment. But if you don't understand what that is, if you don't understand what that Supreme Court decision ultimately accomplished, then you're just as clueless as she is, and you're in a bad place. And we're going to rectify that here in just a moment. But I just want to pull that out because it is critical that we do our own research. Trump was searched in Israel. He was searched in Iran. Yeah, those searches did happen, but they also happened at a certain time of day. Trump's murderer, or attempted assassin, rather. Attempted murder, attempted assassin.
His name was searched.
His name was searched, supposedly, allegedly. If he was, the problem is with Google search results, as someone who works with Google Analytics all the time, they're not very precise. Errors happen all the time. It's hard to use that as a defining metric because there are mistakes that are made routinely. As someone who sees that, working with it day to day, that's not strong evidence. And the IDF shirt the guy was wearing, it was AI photoshopped.
Oh,
Okay, so at least that's the report that I read. Allegedly, it was AI photoshopped. Guys, do your own research. Grok thinks it was photoshopped, and so did another analysis team. Guys, do your research. Be careful what you spread. And also, when someone brings something that you don't know, what Rosa should have done is said, no, you tell me what Loper Bright is and how that excuses you from this. And that would have been more intelligent.
Yes, and I'll tell you something. Part of me was sitting here wishing that he had gone ahead and read the stupid thing verbatim.
Yes.
That would have been great.
I wish he would have, because that would have been really good. But what he was doing specifically was he was trying to troll her.
And he did.
He was not interested in anything other than making her look like a fool. And at the time,
and he did.
I think he did good.
He did an excellent job.
I don't think he made her look
Because
like
he let her
Oh, no.
run.
herself.
No.
She made herself look like
I'm just going to say, when you, like what she did, when I say you're listening to too many talking points, you will look like a fool.
Yeah.
Nobody has to make you look like truth and facts don't change. So your talking points can only go so far. They only hold so much weight. Eventually, truth and facts come to the surface, and then you're lost because.
And isn't that where we're at with liberalism and progressivism today?
Correct.
Well, with like her, all he did was he made some factual statements and he let her run her mouth and let her make a fool of herself and make false claims, just like all liberals do when they want to argue with you when you're making factual statements and telling the truth.
The louder someone gets, by the way, more often than not, the more wrong they are. And they understand that they are at a deficit. Hosea 4:6 says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yep.
My people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Let me
Make
just-
sure that we know what we're up against.
So my dad had two sayings. He said, if you give somebody enough rope, eventually they'll hang themselves. Or be quiet and let people think you're a fool. Open your mouth, let people know you're a fool.
Correct.
And she always has been.
Yeah.
She's never. I don't recall her ever saying one thing that sounded intelligent.
Rosa?
Never.
Yeah. Rosie's
the
crazy.
equivalent of
She's
a
just
senator from Washington,
as AOC.
congressman from woman from Washington State. These people live in a delusional land.
Well,
They do.
And we need to be able to stand on truth and knowledge. So what is Loper Bright? I don't have any slides prepared for this, but I just want to recap it for you in general. In 2024, you have really a repeal of a 40-year set of precedents. And this is Loper Bright Enterprises versus Raimondo. And ultimately, it repealed Chevron deference. If you don't understand what Chevron deference is, it's that agencies ultimately had the priority in ruling, and they enjoyed approximately a 77% win rate against constitutional challenges for the laws that were implemented by an agency. So ATF, we think braces are really stocks. And even though the legislation allows for braces, we are going to circumvent this. And we're going to say that braces are, in fact, stocks when there was no law written. We believe that bump stocks are now not legal. FDA, there is no law against this drug, but we think that because under these guises, we can misinterpret the law very broadly and push this medication out, picking winners and losers in the medical realm. This is what Chevron deference did. And they enjoyed, the bureaucrats in Washington enjoyed a 70+% win rate when challenged on these unconstitutional, unlawful decisions that were made by individual agencies.
Now, when you talk about 75% or whatever that was,
70 to 77.
here's the issue.
Yeah.
That is stripping away freedom from the common man.
It's removing the legislature
Yes.
from the equation who was elected to make those laws, and it's handing it to an unelected bureaucratic branch that is ultimately hired by the executive. But it is independent of the executive, as we saw in Trump's first term.
And that's how corruption gets on the
Seeps in.
Exactly.
That's how it gets on the fence.
And bureaucrats are not allowed to make laws.
Yeah. And so ultimately what we're seeing is Trump's admin growing a spine.
And that court case was one of the best things that could have happened.
Is the best thing that happened.
Here's an example of bureaucrats making laws. The ATF.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we'll be talking more about the ATF in a little bit, but the repeal of Chevron deference is allowing, and just a teaser for Steve Shenanigans, we're going to talk a little bit about the 34 new rules. We won't get into it just at the moment, but I want to say, I think that this is a sign that we are winning. Conservatives have been on the back foot for a long time. We don't really understand what it is to have the Democrats, the enemies, on their back foot. They are falling backwards in a fight. We need to keep pushing. And they're
on the ropes,
brutal.
and this is where you need to finish it off.
It needs to be brutal. And, just to give you an analogy.
Nonviolent. I want to be clear. We're not advocating violence here.
I don't know. It depends on who we're talking about. You need to be vote. This is the situation. If you ever watch the Chronicles of Narnia by Disney and Walden, at the end of the scene where Aslan shows up, where Jesus, the Christ-like figure, shows up, and all of a sudden the battle turns. Is it good for these soldiers to sit on their butts or to get their swords out and charge?
Mm-hmm.
Time to charge.
When God Almighty shows up at your back, you need to start to move, and you need to be full bore. Onward.
Get after it.
Onward, soldier. Go. Right now, we need to push as hard as we can. And yes, talking politically, we want things to be peaceful. Talking on a personal level, guys, more than ever, if someone accosts you, assaults you, you need to be prepared for radical self-defense.
Yep.
I mean, all the way, whatever it takes to defend you and your family. I'm not talking about doing something disproportionate, but I'm saying if someone hits you in the head, you need to do whatever it takes to make sure they don't splat your brains out on the concrete.
That's where people have to learn to become violent. That's where you're
violent defense,
right?
Violent self-defense,
correct?
Strong, if necessary, violent self-defense. Only self-defense. We're not talking about violence against others for the sake of it. We're saying you need to protect your family. You need to come home to your family because they will laugh at your death.
And just to speak to our friends in New York State and California, you need to really consider where you're living because defending yourself up there is not looked at as a constitutional right.
It's getting harder and harder. And speaking on the issue of defense of the innocent, I want to go to our next clip that came out this week. I saw this clip on social media and I thought, whoa, I can't handle the winning. Mr. President was right. I would get tired of the winning. There is so much winning. On this one case, I really think this is one of the best master classes in apologetics on the abortion issue that I have ever seen. Mr. Producer's going to go ahead and play that clip. Watch this and tell me, think in your mind, what did this guy get right?
You're an advocate for abortion, for abortion policy. What's your favorite type of abortion?
I am an advocate for patients having access to the full realm of reproductive health care.
But do you have a preferred method of abortion that you like?
I do not.
Let me read through a couple different methods, and I want to get your take on how much you like these. The first type is called a suction abortion. This is when the cervix is dilated and a strong suction, 29 times the power of a household vacuum cleaner, tears the baby's body apart and sucks it through the hose into a container. Do you prefer that method?
I stand by my former testimony.
That sounds kind of gross, doesn't it? Sounds pretty gruesome. Do you agree? It does to me.
I stand by how I answered your question fully and accurately.
Okay, what about this one? This one is called dilation and curettage. After dilation of the cervix, a sharp looped knife is inserted into the uterus. The baby's body is cut into pieces and extracted, often by suction. Do you prefer that method?
What I believe we are here to talk about today is the FACE Act. We are not here to talk
I'm
about
asking you, you're a pro-abortion advocate. I'm asking if you prefer the dilation and curettage method.
I am a access to reproductive health care advocate.
You don't want to talk about abortion itself. Why is that?
I would prefer to talk about the reason that the committee called the hearing.
Is it because it's uncomfortable to talk about?
I would prefer.
It should be uncomfortable.
I would prefer, if you would let me finish my statement, to talk about the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which is
We're
what I
talking
was
about
asked to come.
what that access gets. How about this one? It's called dilation and evacuation. Forceps are inserted into the uterus, grabbing and twisting the baby's body to dismember him or her. If the head is too large, it must be crushed in order to remove it. Do you prefer that method?
I would prefer to talk about the reason the hearing was called and the basis of my expert testimony.
It's uncomfortable to hear this, isn't it?
It should be.
It is. I think it is because it's barbaric and evil. How about this one? It's called the saline injection. It's when a 20% salt solution is injected through the mother's abdomen into the baby's amniotic fluid. The baby's skin is burned off. The baby ingests the solution and dies of salt poisoning, dehydration, and hemorrhaging of the brain. Do you prefer that method?
I would prefer to talk about the subject of the hearing.
This is the subject of the hearing. This is about protests outside of abortion clinics. I'm asking you about abortion.
I stand by my prior testimony.
Okay. I wouldn't want to talk about this either if I were you, because it is barbaric and evil.
So, by the way, that is Representative Brandon Gill.
Go,
And
Brandon.
That has to be one of the single best defenses of the pro-life position. So what is your favorite type of snuffing out a human life? What is your favorite methodology for snuffing out a human life? And we as conservatives have gotten so cautious. It's time to stop. It's time to say, wait a minute. No. We are the side of truth, of righteousness, of life. And not life in the sense of we're giving you unfettered access to other people's money. No. And they'll say you're only pro-life if you like these things. No. We're saying you can't take innocent life. It's about darn time that someone did this. And I want everyone's reaction in just a moment, because I want to go one step further. Have any, and by the way, if you're one of our regular listeners, thank you for hundreds of thousands of downloads of the audio, anywhere you can find podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google. Thank you guys. YouTube, Rumble, you can find us there at Further Every Day. Thank you so much. You can listen live on PSB's channel on Rumble or Vaughn.live Sundays 1, 2, 3. So you guys in the chat, PSBers, tell me, have you ever heard in the discourse as far as informed consent, anyone speaking to the suicidal ideation, comorbidities that come with abortion? Have you ever heard a pro-abort talking about the post-abortion suicidal ideation? Has anyone here ever heard that? Have you ever heard that?
I haven't heard of the suicide, but I do know plenty of women who have had abortion and have lived with regret and
Yep.
Huge regret.
huge regret.
And so
I
let's
know.
let's look at the stats real quick, and then I want to open it up to the panel because next cut, Mr. Producer, the comorbidities that are never spoken of when it comes to this issue. Substance abuse. A 2011 meta-analysis shows that compared to women without abortions, women who have abortions are over 3 times as likely to use marijuana and over more than twice as likely to misuse or abuse alcohol. The Ad Health study shows that women who have abortions are twice as likely to abuse alcohol, 2.5 times more likely to misuse marijuana, and over 3 times as likely to use illicit drugs. Cut number 4, Mr. Producer. Again, this is from the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Depression, anxiety. According to the 2011 meta-analysis, women who have abortions are 37% more likely to suffer from depression, 34% more likely to have anxiety compared to women without. This is backed up from the Ad Health showing that women who have abortions are 30% more likely to experience depression, 23% more likely to have anxiety. Next cut, Mr. Producer. Suicide and violent death. Studies of women in the United States, Italy, and Finland show that women who have abortions have approximately 2 to 6 times the risk of suicide within a year compared to women who give birth. This risk increases with multiple abortions. Additionally, women who undergo abortion have a significantly higher rate of death from violent causes. Together with an elevated risk of death from other stress-related illnesses, national record linkage studies demonstrate that each abortion increases the risk of premature death by 50%. Think about that for a moment. Where is that in the informed consent? Where is that in the form that says, no, it's just a clump of cells? Who even tells these women that that's actually a potential issue? I'm not even going to talk about the baby. I'm not even talking about the justice for the baby. If you want to talk about women's rights, women's health care, you don't even mention that with each abortion, you have a 50% chance increase statistically over other women to have these comorbidities of anxiety, depression, suicidality.
But what do women that are pro-abortion say? Abortion is health care.
Abortion
It's
is
health care.
Women,
we need that. It's got to be available to women. It's health care.
Correct. And what they'll
sounds like health care, doesn't it? 50%.
And they'll cite exit polls. So immediately after coming out of the abortion clinic, they will say, "Hey, do you feel better? Yes or no?" Of course, 90-something% say yes. Often on the arm of their abusive father, abusive boyfriend, or uncle who has pushed them to have the abortion. Often on the arm of the abuser. Of course, they're going to be relieved. Of course, they've been told, you can't raise a child right now. The world is not safe. Of course, they're going to not want to have a child when they say the sky is falling, the globe is on fire. Of course, they're going to say, yes, I'm relieved. But catch them a year later, 5 years later. And there's a study, I couldn't find it, 10 years later, it's 4 times more likely to be dead from suicide.
Omar Sewerpickle, you've got a really interesting take on that. The left is pro-homicide, suicide, infanticide, culture side, and the most recent side, genital side. They want to erase your identity. Spot on.
Antisocial behavior.
Yeah,
it's
good.
anti-God, anti-Christ behavior. It is anti-societal. Every prescription from the left, 100% right, Omar, 100% right. Every prescription from the left is anti-societal. It replaces a good thing with a perversion of that thing. Motherhood, it replaces with infanticide in the name of freedom. And just speaking to the one mom in the room, do you feel better or worse for having had children?
Oh, it's funny because the older you get, the most important thing at 60 years old, when I look back now, the most important.
You're what?
Huh?
Yeah.
Looking
you are
good.
not 60.
I am. But the most important part of my life was raising my kids. I was a stay-at-home mom. It was hard. I homeschooled all my kids. It was hard. But at this age, when you look back, that was the most favorite part of my life.
And
at the time, I would have told you I'm losing my mind.
I had the privilege of seeing you with your grandkids. I was her son's best
A
man
few
at
of
his
them,
wedding,
yeah.
and so we're really, really good friends, Josiah and I got to see his kids. That's a special thing.
Oh, it is.
It was a great week.
And,
It is.
And the woman going into the clinic with her child is cutting off that opportunity to meet those grandkids.
What we've talked about before on this show is the purpose that God has for an individual's life. And women are told that it's not life. Life doesn't begin until the baby's born, you know. And we've said many times that, and I've said it many times, that God says, I knew you before I formed you in the womb. There's a verse in Psalms that it talks about in heaven, the members of a baby are being written as the child is in the womb. It talks about predestination. Before the foundations of the earth, I knew you. So we're talking about God's blueprint for a human being. Conception may bring forth a child, but the blueprint started way before that.
Correct.
So you have an internal desire or an internal thing that women have. And when they've given or taken that choice of it's not really life, I can just get rid of this responsibility, they really deep down don't ever get away from it. Now, I will tell you, there are some women that have no conscience and
They've seared it.
They would be terrible mothers, absolutely. But there's a lot of women that go forward and they really suffer.
And that regret is not necessarily
Very-
instant, but it's
is
pretty
deep.
close.
10 years, it's stronger than it ever has been. And
Well, especially if they do get married and have a child, the first time they look at their child,
boy.
they'll think of the other child.
Boy.
And I will say this to any woman out there who is grieving over having an abortion, that God is very forgiving.
amen.
It is very
Amen.
forgiving. And
Amen.
I know a friend of ours, he had to sit down with his sister because she just grieved so terribly over having an abortion. And he had to sit down with her and said, it was wrong, but God will forgive you. You can let this go. And she had to go through naming the child, giving
Oh.
the child a name,
Oh,
and then
ow.
giving the child to the Lord. So the child became real in her
Yes.
mind. And that was how she was getting through her grief, was to give the child a name, picture the child with the Lord, knowing that she would see the child again.
So that's really a Davidic answer. I will go
Oh.
to him,
Mhm.
Amen.
but he will
Amen.
not come to me.
Yes.
And that speaks to the age of accountability. And Kitty Kubiak on the live chat says this: what do you tell a 22-year-old who has taken the morning after 18 times? You're going to have to eventually say, at some point, you got to realize that this is infanticide. And God is merciful. God is gracious. But the most important thing to do is to stop. Abortion is not a form of contraceptive. And if you want to debate contraceptives, I mean, again, I'm not Catholic, but I kind of agree with the Catholics that maybe we should leave as much of that to God as possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's a good amount of doctrine there and a good amount of thought on who is sovereign over you having children. But even if you don't hold to that, at least consider contraceptives over aborting your children. Like the idea that you are going to procreate and now after the life is alive, we should stop that. So to that 22-year-old, let's go ahead and pause on that. If you can get them to the point where they realize that at a spiritual level, they are creating a being that does not get to experience life outside of the womb, but is snuffed out through chemical abortion. The Plan B pill is chemical abortion. So that life is snuffed out. Let's see if we can get them to that understanding. And maybe you bring out the chart. Where on the chart is it not a child? 9 months versus conception. And you'll see at a matter of like 14 weeks, 20 weeks, that's a child. Like undeniably.
I would even go back further.
And you go back further and you say, okay, but work with me.
Yep.
You say, this is undeniably a child at 21 weeks. How about 20? Let's go back further. Let's go to 21 days.
Let's go
Go back further. Philosophically, if this individual has a soul, when was the soul imbued? So start at 21 weeks. Then go to 21 days and say, this still looks like a child. How is this different day to day? If you have a soul, when did the soul come into the equation? Well, we know that when an egg is fertilized, there is a flash of light. There is this, and science still can't quite fully explain why there's this flash of
They can
light.
explain it if they took a biblical worldview, but they
It'd be
can't
very
explain it
easy.
in a scientific worldview.
So all of that to say, guys, abortion is not birth control. And then Melissa Perry wants to say this to Miss Nikki. I was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years until Catholic school began pricing us out. It was the most important job I had. Not sure if my daughter would have lived if I had homeschooled her.
I do understand.
We
I
understand that pain.
They've been there, done that. So all of that said, and again, I'll just take this from Rottweiler R before we move on. Ronald Reagan.
Oh, what a quote.
I've noticed that most people who are pro-abortion, they've already been born. I mean, that's like a Norm Macdonald line from the former governor of California and then president. It is a fantastic line. So anyway, I really enjoyed Congressman Gill's game there. He had a really good game. He really brought it to the table, and he said, "Look, this is what you should do." In the chat, in the
And
live
she
chat,
was uncomfortable. You could tell.
yes.
Notice every time that she gave an answer, where did she look?
She looked down.
Left.
Yeah,
Down and
away
left.
from him,
Yes.
away from him.
Yes.
Because she couldn't bear to look him in the eyes. If you have not watched The Silent Scream, you need to. It's a film produced in the 70s where you can watch a baby under ultrasound screaming as the child is being torn apart. You can see the whole body, the whole fascia of the child, the whole body just curl back and the mouth open in the womb.
Folks, and that's, can I just add one thing there, John Arthur? It is gut-wrenching, understood. There was something that happened with Nikki's and my third child. And I'm not going to get into great detail, but he had us do something one day on a visit. He was doing the exam. He said, I want you to listen. He gave us a stethoscope. It was unreal.
Hearing the baby's heartbeat?
No,
sir.
No, the baby was making noises.
Making noises.
Really?
And
Yes.
and we said, what is that? And he said breathing exercises. But the baby was making noise. And we couldn't figure out why is that? What is that? You know?
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And that was David.
Yes.
And I think I was 5 or 6 months along at that time.
So someone says that you should, let's see, who was it said? They should be required to see, this is Dawn of a New Day, they should be forced to see and listen before they have an abort. Actually, in Texas, they're working on passing that law.
Yep.
I believe it's preborn. Someone fact checked me.
Preborn?
That actually pays, you pay for a $125 block of 5 different ultrasounds. So a ministry worth donating to.
Boy, and big time.
It's 80 to 90% choose life.
Yes.
Of abortion-minded women, they choose life when they see and hear the baby.
To be clear, they are not pressuring women. They are educating them. They are helping them understand this is the decision that you're thinking about making. Here's where you need to be thinking.
Correct. I think a lot of girls change their minds when they see that. Statistically, it's just the case, 80 to 90%. This is partly an awareness thing. And the fact, I'm not advocating violence, but the fact that we didn't oppose this 50 years ago much, much more strongly as a church, and we allowed it to go, that some parts of culture really are downstream of politics. The law is a teacher. Often your culture builds your body politic, but once you allow that politic to slip, it does have a corrosive effect on the culture. We do need to legislate morality. By definition, you always.
Isn't that interesting?
Outlawing murder is by de facto
legislating morality.
So we need to get out of this libertarian mindset and go back to conserving liberty under Christ. That's what we need to be doing. And if we don't, we're going to see more of this. I wanted to throw this up there. I saw this on social media. from a podcast, and I have a similar experience to this young man. I believe I have a very different worldview than this young man, but I wanted to play this and then get everyone's take, because there's another issue that's in the culture, and it's very similar to the abortion issue. It is related and aligned, but we're looking at the ultimate failure of our culture and the breakdown in the form of ultimately John C. Calhoun's behavioral sink. So on the right, you're going to see this podcast from this fellow. It's a 9x16. I know I'm cursed for putting that out there, but it's how I found it. And then also I have some of the studies from the behavioral sink. If you don't remember what that is, look it up while we play the video, and I will explain one more time later what the behavioral sink is. Mr. Producer, go ahead and throw up cut number 6, please.
I'm 30 years old. Not one of my friends has children. Zero. No one. No one's having kids. Do you know how hard you need to abuse a mammal to make them not have children? Like for real. Let's step here back a moment, right?
Never thought of it that way.
Yeah, look, GDP goes up. People have have enough food, and whatever. No one's having kids, and this is across the world. This is across both the West, the East, everywhere it's happening. So there's a thing that happens, especially with younger, even younger than me. Like the kids are like 18 today. There's a huge problem where they don't dance. No one dances. They go to clubs and they don't dance. Why is this? Because you get recorded.
Yeah.
If you're an 18-year-old kid, you go to a club, you get recorded. If you approach a girl and you mess it up, you get recorded. Everything is panopticon now. So if you had to ask me why, my answer is technology. My answer is social media. My answer is AI. My answer is algorithms. Do you know what dating app algorithms do? Do you know how they optimize? They don't optimize for you to meet your love of your life. They optimize you to keep coming back to the app.
Yeah.
And now there's a thing that basically we have sold out all of our dating norms, all of our interpersonal norms to tech companies without our consent to optimize their ad algorithm. Right. I think there's a deep thing where we as a society have not dealt with the fact that we have to steward technology responsibly. We have treated technology as a Wild West.
Absolutely.
Just everyone can do whatever they want. Just sell all of our younger generation's dating lives to corporations for profit. And who pays the cost for this? Who has liability? So I think the real problem is that we are, as a society, as a government, the generations that came before me, and also my generation, I don't want to exclude myself from this, but all the generations came before me, just let technology rip. The promise was, if you let technology rip, if you let internet rip, there will be democracy and freedom and happiness and economic growth. And where is that? And I think my generation is noticing that broken promise.
So if you were watching, if you're listening on audio, I'll explain what the behavioral sink is. But if you were watching, you saw that part of that 1968 documentary from John B. Calhoun. I think I said C. Calhoun earlier. It's B. Calhoun. Sorry. John B. Calhoun. If you don't remember what the behavioral sink is, or if you've never heard of it, a scientist did a population study on mammals. He worked with mice, and he built a beautiful, perfectly set up, as you saw there, paradise as far as mice are concerned, with all the food that you could need for up to 4,000 mice. As that population grew from day 1 to 315, they had kids, they had lots of kids, and they grew, and the offspring filled out the cage. At 315, despite having all the food that they needed, they started acting as though they were crowded in. They started to actually inhabit the common spaces more than the outside spaces, and they all crowded up. What you saw as you have the population centers being crowded, and very few on the outside. Are you guys seeing the picture we're painting here? They actually slowed their breeding significantly. In fact, it went from doubling every 55 days in population to doubling every 145 days. That's major decrease in population growth, right? Yep. So from 315 to I believe it was 600, you saw this slow down of the progression. Now, the next phase, in the middle of this, after the population started to build, before they hit day 600, you had 2,200 mice in this space. Right? They didn't even reach the 4,000. They could have had 4,000 by best estimates, and still there was food for 4,000, and there was space. But they all herded in the center, and they grew this population center to maximum density. These 2,200 mice at this point, they stopped breeding, and they called them the beautiful ones. All they would do is sleep, eat, and groom themselves, and they would not be interested in involving themselves. The males would not be involved with the females.
Now, isn't that interesting? Look at today's cities, and what are we doing?
Day 600, not done. Day 600 was the last mouse born, and no more were born after that. The whole population collapsed and ultimately died.
And during that time, they also had sexual perversion.
Correct.
During that time of the
homosexuality before the complete asexualness, you
Correct.
had violence in the middle of that phase between day 315 and day 600. At first,
Correct.
you had violence where the males would aggressively fight over the females. Then the males turned to the males and the females to the females. And then came the beautiful ones that had
Correct.
zero sexual desire. What are we seeing in America today? What are we seeing in the West today? What are we, I mean, even South Korea, although widely westernized, what are we seeing there?
Don't have
Population
babies.
implosion.
Yep. Don't have
Yep.
babies.
And there's plenty of space. The world is abundant in resources. Frankly, there are estimates that we could have 40, 60, 100 billion people on this planet and not break a sweat. There are estimates that suggest that we could even do more.
You know what I heard? I heard that you could place every person in the world
In Texas.
in the state of Texas.
In Texas.
You can give them 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
That'd be the size of my bedroom, right?
But
Just teasing.
I mean, think
No,
about
you're
it.
not.
Every person in the world in the state of Texas.
That's
So
a lot.
Do you imagine how
It's
much
not an
land
invite.
is
It's not an
available?
invite.
No,
Don't
no,
come.
no. Don't California, my Texas, please.
Yeah,
if you're
we get rid of
liberals,
California.
need not apply. But if you're
Exactly.
cool, you can come if you like.
But I
God's
mean,
God,
think about
you know.
that.
Yeah.
That's how
it's
much
incredible.
land is
We
available.
have all of the space, yet like the mice, like the rodents, we all conglomerate in a population center. We then complain about not having enough resources, although God has given us abundant resources.
Exactly.
So the more you look at it, the more you start to realize, yes, we are made in the image of God, but we are not that much better than the rodents if we do not give our intellect and that image bearing to God. We are no better than the rodents. And if you do not surrender the things that make you an image bearer to the one whose image you bear, you become a dumb animal.
And that's exactly what's happening in America in terms of concentrating. It is understood that what's going on is the creation of mega regions.
Yeah.
So Houston is a very large geographical city. It's top 4.
But it's sprawled out.
It's sprawled out. But what's happening? Your suburbs to the north, your suburbs to the west, your suburbs to the south, although I can't go much more because
Yeah.
you're going to hit ocean, but it's getting much bigger. What's happening up in Dallas? The same exact thing. Fort Worth is a very nice city, but what's happening? You've got places like those areas that are not so far away that are starting to become more condensed with population. This
Yeah.
is happening all over the U.S.
Well, look at the megalopolises of
Yes.
the eastern seaboard,
Yep.
where you
Mhm.
have one long population center. And the more populated people are, the more
Yes.
perversity you end up seeing. I'm not saying you're a pervert if you live in that space. I'm saying you have a Tower of Babel effect. And even
Yes,
more so
yes.
when you live in a city, it is on you to be a light for Christ in that space.
It's the arrogance of man that really gets pronounced.
Correct. And so what is the Christian response to that? Well, it's obviously you do have the room. You do have the room to grow. You've been given an abundance, and this world will not end without God sending his son to return in the second coming. If you're a Christian, you understand that and you have hope. There's no reason that if you can have children, not everyone can, okay? And I noted, I myself wish I'd already had been on that trip, okay? I wish I was already down that road. I'm not. as soon as possible, as long as necessary, consider having kids. It is a good thing to raise children. If you are called to marriage and you're able to, consider having kids and raising them in a godly light. If you don't want kids, don't have them. Noted.
No pressure.
No pressure. Like literally, if you don't want to have kids, don't.
Please don't.
But if you can, you should think about it, because the left is self-immolating. They are destroying their ability to have children, whether it's through their decisions, whether it's what they're doing to their bodies, or whether it's their ability. They're so busy divorcing
I wish
each other.
progressives would take 5 minutes and just think about the pathology of their own belief system.
How it's going to destroy their
And
own
if you
movement.
want to have kids, have more than one.
Absolutely.
By the way, statistically speaking, have 0 kids or have 3 or more to be happy.
Don't have 3, have 4.
Have
The middle, we have 5, and the middle child is always, the middle child needs a partner. So you need to have, need to have even amounts.
They say it gets easier after 4. Is that true? Is it easy after 3?
I don't know. 5.
I will tell you
7.
I will say this though, my kids are, the oldest and the youngest are 10 years apart. And so when the last 2 were born, Serena was always taken care of by CJ, who was the oldest. And then Josiah was born a year later, and Jason always took care of Josiah. And they're very similar in personalities, even today. So yes, in a sense, what you do is you kind of assign one child to help they don't take care of them like they raise them, but they're their helper to that child.
Well,
I've got some friends that they're a family of 14. She said after 5, it was not only a tax write-off, but it was easy. Because she did the same thing.
Yeah, you do that.
I tell you what, when I saw Josiah the other day,
Yeah.
he looked like he's enjoying married life really well.
He has got energy. He is the Energizer Bunny.
He's also filled out a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's enjoying
fed
married life.
So, yeah, it's a good
He's
thing.
getting fed real well.
Family life looks good.
He needed to. He was too skinny.
But I will say
was.
this: he still moves well. We played some pickleball the other day, and that boy got to some wiffle balls.
Listen, we're talking about a 5'10", and is he 5'10" or 5'8"?
That too, 10.
He went from 145 pounds, which is very, very skinny. He's probably 165 or 170.
When I last saw him, he was about
fine.
that big around when
Yeah,
he
he's-
wrestled about a 160-pound boar.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
thing.
He did pretty good.
Kids are a good thing.
First time.
Yes.
So, with that said, we're going to get into some history and some Nikki knows facts.
Ooh.
In that robber, no camels are allowed on the highways in Nevada. He has a hacksaw. This is not a mannequin. This is a human corpse.
If you miss these segments,
You got to go back and check them out because these are some clips that she actually said in previous segments. So it's always fun to hear her talk about the stories that interest her.
We should redo the one about the human corpse there.
That Elmer McCurdy.
It was funny.
That was
McCurdy was
that
great.
was funny. So,
Yeah.
okay, so we're traveling through the United States from 1876, and we're going to stop in July 2026, and we're doing a certain amount of years every week to find out what were the major events that happened. And
did you say 1876?
2026? Did I say 18?
You said
I'm
1876.
Yeah.
Okay, well, because okay.
She.
I do this a lot because I'm looking at one thing and my brain wants to say something
Hey,
else.
guys, she did not say World War 11. Okay, so give her some slack. A simple.
We're having fun.
I
with
tell
this
you
one.
what.
She is far and clear away from Ilhan Omar. Okay,
Amen
Oh my
on that.
gosh.
so just
Because
that's a simple like I understand this one. I don't understand World War 11. Like
I
some
thought I
should
missed,
stop in
like-
your brain before you say World War 11.
I thought I
Actually
missed.
happened.
Yeah, no, you didn't see it. Ilhan
No.
Omar
You
goes,
never saw
That
that.
sounds
World War
hilarious.
11, and she just kept going for like a minute and a half, and she goes, "Oh wait, I made a mistake." No, this is normal when you're speaking publicly. It's normal to do that. I do that every podcast, I think. So anyway, please continue. Ignore your husband.
My husband loves that. He loves to correct me all the time. Anyway, we are traveling this week from 1901 to 1920. And we're going to start at 1901 with Theodore Roosevelt. He becomes the youngest president at the age of 42. Do we know why he became president? Does anyone remember?
Theodore Roosevelt.
He was not elected as president
Oh, that was the
in 1901.
of,
William
McKinley.
McKinley. That's right. It's very interesting because the man who murdered him was really affected by the depression of the 1893.
Yeah, one of the worst depressions.
And he became radicalized and believed that the president was working against the working class.
He was a Marxist.
Yes.
They're all Democrats. Get rid of the, hey, I'm all for gun control for Democrats.
John Arthur,
Yeah.
Alan wants to know who won World War XI.
I don't know. I'll have to go watch it. With Fast and Furious 12.
There you go.
Anyway,
Exactly.
continue.
So put our first slide up there. Did we put it? The president. There you go. Teddy Roosevelt. Now, he was elected, though, for his second term. And he was a popular president. He broke up monopolies. You want to give a little tidbit about monopolies, the people who don't understand?
Sure. So a lot of people are going to say, well, why would a conservative desire to break up a monopoly? Well, the short answer is usually monopolies are unfairly achieved. There is some sort of usury, extortion, or what have you. However, with every sin comes more law. In the 1800s, what you found, especially having a centralized railroad, monopolies were used specifically to oppress certain people. There were taxes that were given. So as man did bad things, a monopoly is not inherently a bad thing.
Right.
It's not inherently, but often it's gotten by ill gains now. And also back then, they were misused. So we had to put monopoly busting laws in
Yeah,
place.
because back then they were used to keep other people out of the business so that one person can control.
And now we have
Yes.
the FDA to keep new medical technology from being adopted. It might as well be a monopoly. It shouldn't exist. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
But it was also considered a square deal because he was considered to work for the consumer and the average American worker. So that would made him very popular. He also set aside 230 million acres for national parks. I do like that. I'm really glad because remember all the expansion going westward, and he just realized we need to set some of this aside. And that was a very good thing for us in America.
It's inherently conservative. It's not, conservatives want to conserve the land.
Yeah.
By definition, don't lose that.
He also oversaw the beginning of the Panama Canal, and he was the first American to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I bet you didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
I did not know that. All right, let's move on to slide number 2. We're going to go to 1903 with the Wright brothers and the first flight. Did you know there's some controversy over this?
Yes.
What, the wrong?
There is.
Oh, the Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers.
Okay.
Now, this flight took place at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. However, not everybody believed that this actually happened. And there was another man, and Gustav Whitehead, he claimed that he did a flight before the Wright brothers.
Yep.
However, it is generally accepted that the Wright brothers did this. Now, of course, we already talked about horse and wagons, and then you went to the ships, and then you went to the trains, and how transportation really changed things. Well, add an airplane in there, and, going across the United States on a wagon train would take months. By a train, it would take a few days. And now we're talking about a few hours. Many people, probably even listening to this, have traveled from New York to California within a few hours.
Imagine having lived in the late 1800s and then seeing man on the moon in the 1960s.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
That's-
imagine that.
Yeah.
That perspective.
We had a neighbor who was, we were much younger. This was 30 years ago. And she talked about seeing horse and wagon to the automobiles to the men on the moon. She said, I've seen this in my lifetime. So it's a big deal. Yeah.
That's something.
And this is going to affect our military. Now that we can have aviation and how it's going to affect the wars, transportation just a lot of things. Mail.
Big deal.
Yes. So think of all the things that this had done. Very interesting. So let's go on to the next slide.
How
We're
would you like
moving.
to have been on that first flight, though?
Rush.
Oh, wow.
That had,
had
to
to
have
be
been
a
quite a feeling there.
Well, also remember, it took many, 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 many attempts. I think it was over 100, if memory serves, that before they actually got something to run for only, what was it, 60 yards?
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
It was some small amount. So someone in the comment section can fact check me, but it was not long.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to 1906, and we're going to go to the San Francisco earthquake.
Ooh.
Everybody pretty much knows about this. I did not realize that 3,000 people died in this earthquake. And here's some of the interesting things. This hit at 5:12 a.m. It was a magnitude of 7.9 and lasted 42 to 60 seconds. No wonder it caused as much damage as what it did. Large portions of the city, of course, were destroyed, and half of its population was displaced. Now, this also led into stronger building codes. I do want you to hear something here because this was very interesting. I listened to a podcast with Mike Rowe and Adam Carolla, and he used to be a builder in California. Now, you know the fires that we had a couple years ago in California?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Palisades
fires.
The Palisades fires. Getting a permit to build a house in California is not a quick process. It's a very long, dragged out process. He was saying that they have to build a new house. Get this. It's called a caisson. It's a drilled concrete piers that have to go 5 stories into the ground. It goes through soft or weak, expansive soil, hopefully to reach a stable bedrock. That's to build your house. That's your foundation. The foundation is about $2 million. That's before you get to the rest of the house.
So what's the purpose of establishing those caissons before you're able to build?
The earthquake.
The earthquake.
Because we're talking about the earthquake, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's these building codes that we're just improve building safety. But this is a comment that Adam Carolla made. I have a house that was built in the 1929, and it's still standing. I don't know why we need these increased building codes if my house is still standing. But that is something to understand when you're building in California. The building codes are so harsh. Number one, it's run by Democrats.
Yeah.
And they do have multiple earthquakes.
Part of it is the structural assumptions you have to make. So the concrete itself actually has a silicone additive, and a substantive amount of it has silicone, so that when the earthquake hits, if you're on an overpass, the overpass will move and it'll actually flex. They have to engineer it that way. Now, it doesn't need to be as expensive, as long, or bureaucratically a nightmare as it is. That's what happens when you get the government involved in anything.
I agree.
Some serious issues.
And I think there's some money changing hands down the road.
100%.
If I can get,
100%.
But I have to sit here when you look at Karen Bass, she has botched that so badly. By the way, I'm not going to leave Karen Bass as the lone one in this whole thing.
No,
we can go to the Lahaina fires in Maui.
Yes, there's something weird about that.
It is
the way the property is moving. There's something.
It is sadly
very, very fishy.
Yes.
The problem is there are a lot of conspiracy theories without enough evidence.
Yes.
And so you have to meet the blue roof thing on Lahaina is interesting. I need to have more than just the blue roof, because some of those blue roofs were also burned out underneath. Sorry, guys. But it's interesting, but you need a lot more. There were also, my understanding was that they also had chainsaw cuts in the power lines. So all the wood power poles, there were chainsaw cuts in those, like they were pre-stressed for when the winds would blow through, and that would start the fire. Don't know what I make of that.
Made it where they couldn't escape, get out.
But can we just say that, folks, it matters who you vote for.
Yeah, it does. 100%.
You need, if you don't like some of the things that are happening, would I be living in Southern California not on your life. Why?
California.
Because you've got so many people that are so bent on policies that are destructive to the common person.
Yep.
And now they're moaning about it. I'm sorry. That's what you voted for.
You're getting it.
You're getting what you wanted. And that's number one. Number two, on this 3,000 people that perished in this earthquake, it's interesting. 6 years earlier was what? The storm of 1900. Where? In Galveston.
Oh, where 10,000 people died.
5,000.
Oh, was it 5? I thought it was 10.
5,000 that died there. You're talking major hits to population at that time.
That was a
US.
terrible. Yeah, that was terrible.
I had just thought of that when you were bringing this up.
But you know, people make mistakes like that. Just to round off your point, the Jews keep voting for the German idea that caused the Holocaust.
I don't understand that part.
Humanity does that.
Yep.
And it's a mistake.
All right. So back to San Francisco, of course, they rebuild and they modernized the city. They improved their building safety standards. And of course, they came back stronger than ever. Just like Chicago, the Chicago fire, same thing. So let's go on to 1908 and find out what happens here. And we all know this, Henry Ford and the Model T Ford car. Did you know the price of this car in 1908 was $825 to $850, which is kind of like buying a $28,000 car to $30,000 car today. That's still a pretty pricey car, but a lot of people do it today.
That's still a cheap car.
Nah.
$20,000-$30,000 car.
Right now it is. Right now it is.
30,000. That's a cheap car.
5 years ago it was
pretty average. It was pretty average about 5 years ago, but at the time, the average American only made $200 to $400 per year. So that would be like a 2-year salary to buy that car. Now, Ford, his goal was to make it accessible to most Americans. And they, of course, having the car, you're going to have factories, you're going to have assembly lines, and that did bring down the cost, where in 1924, the price actually bottomed out to $260 to $290, making it affordable for the middle-class Americans. By 1927, 15 million Model Ts had been sold. And there you go.
That was a big reason.
Yeah, it was. He did. It just, and of course, it transformed, transportation. Everybody had their own vehicle.
So what's your favorite car? What's your favorite vehicle? Is it a Ford?
No.
Truck.
My dad loved Fords, but the Pomeroys do not like Fords, so they call it the 4-letter F word. If that truck has a 4-letter F word on it, we don't.
I like my. I'd rather push my Ford than drive a Chevy.
Yeah, I did. Well, I'll be honest with you. When we bought our truck back in 2014, I had actually considered GM long enough to.
You bought a Dodge for everyone.
I bought a Ram 1500. But the reason I bought the Ram instead of the Chevy was because of the safety issues that GM was having at that time, and I was not going to play with that. And I love my Ram, and I'd buy another one.
Yeah,
quite honestly. Steve? What's your favorite?
My favorite vehicle?
Yep.
Probably F-350 4-wheel drive.
Hey, yeah, I agree.
Ryan, you got one?
Nope.
No.
What?
No.
Don't.
He wants a car that gets him A to B. He's driving a Buick subcompact right now.
Buick Encore. Yeah.
A Buick Encore.
I'm not a car guy.
I'm driving my dream car.
A what guy?
I love an Expedition. Sorry.
You have no interest in driving?
He likes a car. He just says he doesn't have any.
He doesn't. He's
moving right along.
You want to talk about guitars?
We'll go on.
He might.
Let's move on to 1912. Next one.
God needs to spread his horizons.
Everybody knows this.
My love is in the arts, okay?
The sinking of the Titanic in 1912. Charlie said to me, "What does that have to do with America?" And because it was coming out of England, so.
But it does.
It does.
It does.
I struggled with this one.
Who died on the Titanic?
Well, that was the thing. So it was bound for New York, and they had on there very influential, wealthy Americans.
Oh.
And this was a media sensation for several weeks after the Titanic went down. But it led to a lot of maritime safety reforms. On the Titanic, there was not enough lifeboats for all the people.
Yep.
So of course they couldn't get them off. So that was one of the things that became a new law, was that you had to have a lifeboat to hold all the people. Now, if you ever been on a cruise, first thing that you do when you get on the boat is you have to go to the certain
Learn
part.
How to muster.
Yep, and how to, in case of any kind of emergency, where to go so you can get off on the lifeboat and be safe. So that's one of the things that happened. They also passed the Radio Act of 1912, which meant there was a 24-hour watch on the radio. The night of the Titanic, the closest ship, the man who was manning the radio was asleep.
Yeah.
And did not hear the call. So that became a law. And then you had to have a power backup for the radio. You're on the sea, can't let your radio go.
Especially when you have that many souls on board. It's just not right. So the conspiracy theory behind this, which I think is interesting, I don't know what to make of it, because there are some interesting questions, because the Titanic itself very well may have been swapped out for her sister ship. 1. 2, Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim were all 3 opposed to the creation of the Federal Reserve banking system, and they all perished aboard the Titanic, or her sister ship. Again, it's interesting that all 3 of them died. Morgan was supposed to be on board. He canceled last minute. And then only a few years later, in 1913, you have the meeting on Jekyll Island where they all decide they're going to get together. They're going to do the Federal Reserve. They cajole the American populace into income tax, the Federal Reserve, and there's a whole bunch of bad decisions that were made right around this time that ultimately support the kind of the New World Order structure we see forming right now.
Kind of like all these nuclear scientists that are
being offed
right now.
Yeah, that's a whole nother question.
That's a different.
We're not a reporting group, and we're apologists. So, but I do find that very interesting. I don't have enough details to know.
Yeah, I know. It's just interesting.
It's interesting.
Interesting concept.
Also, during this time, they had more regulation on the ship construction. And this became a time where they standardized emergency signals during after the Titanic. This is what led to it all. But Charlie, tell us the price of a ticket for being on the Titanic.
So if in this day, it was class
based,
stratified, if you will.
Didn't you have 4 classes?
3.
Is it only 3?
Yeah, it was first, second, and third. Your first class tickets were anywhere from $150 to $4,000.
Cool.
Your third class tickets, which is where I want to really be careful how I word this. Those who definitely wanted to get out, but really couldn't afford to be anywhere else on the ship, they got the bottom of the boat. And that literally is what it meant.
Yeah.
It was $15 to $40.
I see 8 to 40. I think you could get one as low as 8.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
And the GDP at the time was about $4,500.
Yep.
So one ticket at $43.50 would have been right around the cost of a year's wages for the average American.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, go fly Emirates from here over to Saudi in business class, and you'll spend $20,000.
Yes,
Think
you will.
about this.
It's significantly less time, but it's the same opulent luxury.
Think about this. The folks that bought all of those cheap tickets, like you said, the bottom of the boat. Think about how many of them got out of there. I guarantee you, probably
few.
0.
Not 0. There were a lot of women, but it was few.
Yeah,
you're on the bottom of the boat.
It was few,
man.
It was few.
Yeah, it was a sad thing. But anyway, moving on. We also, I think that was all we got there for that one. But everybody knows about the Titanic. I mean, do they still even teach that today in school?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
they do.
yeah,
Anybody ever walk from the bottom of a boat like that to the deck?
Buddy, that's a walk.
That size of boat.
That's big.
Yeah. Well, I was on a cruise ship.
I've been on a tanker before and been at the very bottom level of the boat. When one time out at the ship channel, we had to go out. I was working as an inspector and had to go out there and do some inspecting. And we were at at the as far bottom as you could go on a ship. And it takes an unreal amount of time to get down there and get out.
It does.
I believe that.
There was enough room for Jack. Rose is the villain. Let's go on to the next one.
Okay, bring up the next slide. 1917.
Oh, Rose,
World War One. World War One. The president at the time was Woodrow Wilson. Now, he campaigned on staying neutral. And of course, Germany started that war, just like they started World War II. But we ended up getting involved in that war. And do you know why we got involved in that war?
Because Germany they were actually planning a sneak attack from Mexico.
They were. Now, Germany also said that any ship, whether it was neutral or not, that was trying to get into British ports would be shot or would be torpedoed. Well, that was a threat against America.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's called the Zimmermann telegraph that was intercepted by British intelligence, where Germany was speaking to Mexico about helping Mexico retake Texas. Well, that's a threat to the United States. So I want you to think about President Trump listening for the last 40 years of Iran wanting to kill the big Satan, which is America.
And they're sending people over in cooperation, potentially with a criminal element in our government to commit 9/11, right?
Yes.
And so it's like, yeah, if you've been paying attention, President Trump's been talking about this the whole time. But yeah, the Zimmerman.
I'm just saying this is what President Woodrow Wilson realized is we're being threatened. Our citizens are going to be in jeopardy here if we don't do something.
We've got to move. If you ever want, I was telling you off air, if you ever want a really good book on this, look up Albert Marin's books on World War I and II. Fantastic author. Sorry, keep going.
Another thing that got us involved in the war was that we had a lot of financial interest with our allies. If they lost the war, it was going to affect America financially. So that was one of the reasons we got in. Let's go to 1920, the next one. We're just going to mention this. Women win the right to vote. We've already talked about this in the past, so I'm not going to say much about it. But this is when there has been so much that went on before 1920 that women were out there soliciting the right to vote. And finally, in 1920, they did get that right to vote. So that is our 1901 to 1920, the major events. There's lots of stuff out there. You have to pick and choose. But I thought these are just some interesting little things to think about.
We'll circle back and we'll talk about.
Oh, wait a minute. One more. Get the last slide. Let me do the summary. I put this together. We have just traveled from 1776 to 1920. We have gone from the horse and wagon, ships and canals, to trains, to planes. We had the telegraph to the telephone. And then we have the automobile. It's just interesting. Let me just say something to you. I am a young earth person, so I have a biblical worldview. I believe in the world has been around for about 7,000 years. And people have been in the world for 7,000 years. We're talking about less than 150 years. And look at the transformation in less than 150 years. People who think we've been around for millions of years, where are all the inventions? What, were they mindless people wandering the world?
Yeah. Well, so even by their own definition, even by the assumption that humans were evolved 200,000 years ago, our older ancestors had 15% more brain capacity in size. This is just historical fact. Like you look at. There was a time where mankind's brains were bigger. I would say, as a biblical literalist, I believe that Adam and Eve were a pure bloodline. I'm not talking about eugenics. I'm saying that after a certain amount of time, the human genome is going to run out of diversity and we're all going to have a hard time breeding. Like we're actually going to become sterile and pass away because there's only so much genetic code in Adam and Eve, but they were superior beings. And we've just we're descendants of one pair ultimately of Noah and his wife, actually. So we've seen that go down. But even on the long Earth theory, the old Earth theory, 200,000 years ago, we had a 15% larger cranial capacity. If you believe in that worldview, how are those people less intelligent with more time than us? Either history's wiped away, and that comes to like the Randall Carlson type theory, or some of these other Graham Hancock. These other people say that we've had these cataclysmic destructions that wiped out humanity and society, and wiped out any evidence of technology, or the Earth's young. And really, we've only been around for the
and
last
I will
2,000
say this,
years.
I think that, the Tower of Babel, God separated the people because when their minds are on evil, when they're together, their minds are on evil continually. And I think it's for a time and for a season that God opened up people's minds to start this innovation process is part of God's plan.
Well, I think it's accelerationism that happens when you have people together. And that's why heaven's going to be awesome. And that without God is not awesome. It's communism, and it ends up very poorly. So moving on to the next segment, we got Steve Shenanigans.
Yes.
I can't go shoot me a buffalo.
Nope.
Stay out of my garbage can. I'll keep it to myself.
That's right.
This intro.
Why did it go to me? Okay. So, Steve, we are going to be talking about some new rules that just hit the ATF. Do we want to play that clip first?
Sure. Let's play it first.
So, new ATF director. This is cool.
We're repealing rules that went beyond what the law allows. We are cutting unnecessary red tape, and we are replacing confusion with clear, straightforward language so that everyday Americans don't need a law degree just to understand their rights.
Thank you.
And this did not happen in a vacuum. We listened to industry leaders, many of whom are in this room behind me, to legal experts, and most importantly, to law-abiding gun owners across this country. People who follow the rules, but have been forced to navigate a system that often didn't make sense. The package that we're putting forward today and over the coming days reflects all of those voices. It includes 34 proposed rules, more than ATF has issued in the last 15 years combined. It reflects months of work since the beginning of this administration, and I want to be candid right now about why this is necessary. For too long, regulations were written without any real understanding of how firearms businesses operate, how lawful gun owners actually handle their firearms, or what truly improves public safety. Nothing we are doing today weakens law enforcement. We are not taking tools away from the people, the men and women who go after violent criminals. This administration, as it always has, remains fully committed to targeting those who break the law: gang members, repeat offenders, traffickers, and cartels. We will, as we always have done, continue to follow the evidence, continue to aggressively prosecute violent crime. If anything, what we're doing today will actually help law enforcement, because clearer rules mean better compliance, and better compliance means better enforcement. At the same time, it means fewer traps for law-abiding citizens who are just trying to do the right thing. This package also brings into line ATF regulations with the law and with recent Supreme Court precedent. It reduces unnecessary burdens on lawful gun owners and licensed businesses. It eliminates ambiguity, and it helps prevent the kind of confusion that in the past, and not that distant past, led to inconsistent and sometimes unfair enforcement. I'm going to let Rob lay out the specifics of what we're doing in a moment, but let me reiterate that the Second Amendment will never be treated as a second-class right in the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
It is about time
we like it.
We had somebody in the ATF that recognizes,
he knows his boundaries.
It knows his boundaries and recognizes the fact that gun owners are the people that understand guns and understand who the bad and the good people are.
We'll see what
legal
he does.
Gun owners.
We'll see what he does, because he has to enforce the laws written.
True.
I would have rather seen Brandon Herrera get in as just a total troll. But if you don't know who Brandon Herrera is, he's a firearms manufacturer who is often vied to become the ATF director under Trump. And he's also a political candidate in San Antonio, Texas. Really funny guy, but keep going.
And, you know, it's interesting to listen to him make that speech because that is the first time that I've heard something like that come from a bureaucrat.
Yeah.
Not from a politician, but a bureaucrat. Because typically bureaucrats speak what it is the politician wants them to say. And that's what bureaucrats do. And that's what he's doing. He is letting us know what Donald Trump wants, not what he wants.
Converse
but what
what's
Donald
going on in Canada.
Correct.
And I hope and pray that it's being threatened that they're coming for your guns in Canada.
Door to door.
Door to door.
Boy, you're not kidding.
I hope and pray that does not happen.
Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to have a little conversation. For one thing, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not here to give you legal advice. We're not going over all 34 of these. I just picked out a couple of things here to talk about. And if you got some comments on any of these 34 new regulation changes that the ATF makes, because all they can do is make rules. They cannot make laws. They are bureaucrats. All they can make are rules. And you have to remember, everything they do are rules, period. That's all they can do. First. Now, these right here are the changes that they have proposed, all 34 of the different changes. They show what it is, and then the proposed ones that are set up and the different changes that they're going to make to the ones that they have, so that you can see what all exactly is being done. And what it goes through gives you a good idea on what is happening. And you can see that there is a lot of them that are happening. They've got a lot of changes going on, and some of them are quite very important. One for sure,
they're going to
bump stocks.
Yep.
One of them are for your arm brace stock.
They're removing a lot of the Chevron deference holdovers.
Correct.
And they're recognizing ultimately the very same ruling we started talking about.
Correct.
Loper Bright.
And they're making changes on the 4473 form. They're making changes with the FFL type NICS forms.
It's going to be faster.
Correct.
And so if you don't know what the National Instant Check System is, it's a horrible system that often gets well-meaning, law-abiding citizens trapped from being able to buy a gun. Oh, boo-hoo, you can't buy a gun. What if you're a 20-year-old woman or 21-year-old woman who has a crazy ex coming for you and you're not able to buy for 2 weeks? That's a real concern, and that has happened.
Yes, and what has happened is those women have ended up in the grave.
Yeah.
There's plenty of examples of that have happened.
Yeah.
Next one slide there, Captain, for me, please, sir. Now this here is your 4473 which has all of the definitions of it's what everybody has to fill out. This is a form we were talking about, which is the NICS form that you fill out and you get prepared. You got to send in to the ATF. The FBI does your background check on it. They send it back, and this is where you've got to write everything that they ask. And if you put one thing on it that's wrong, you don't dot an I, cross the T like you're supposed to, fill it out correctly and properly, they'll send it back or they'll deny you. That's the way they do it, man. I mean, they're pretty strict on that 4473. And the FFL has to keep all of those, every single one of them, under lock and key, available if the ATF comes by and wants to take a look at them and look at their books.
Yep. And that's the way it used to be. My dad actually dropped his Class 3 FFL back in the Clinton era because they were demanding that they turn over all of their records. And the purpose is they wanted a registration, but they couldn't get it. So they said that the FFL had to be able to track that, but not necessarily turn them over unless they were shown. It was unfortunate. Before they could get them turned over, there was a fire in the shed out back, and
that's unfortunate.
All
everything
the
got
FFL
burned up.
records, it just
lost.
It
disappeared.
It's really sad.
I lost all of my guns in a boating accident a couple of years ago. Every single one of them. It was right after I got divorced too. Every single one, poof, gone.
Next one.
Next slide, please, sir. Now this here is an ATF FFL form. This is what a requirement form looks like. Now, this one is printed out for show, but typically your FFL forms are for the books by most people are written out and they're handwritten, and they'll write them out. Now, if you don't cross a T or dot an I, don't put a comma where it's supposed to be,
big trouble.
ATF will pull your FFL license and put you out of business.
It's not a good thing.
Period.
So
they will jerk it from you and you're out of business if you just forget to cross a T.
So all of that to say, we need to get good laws instituted. So primary runoff, right now we're past most of the primaries. Get involved in your runoffs. We need to get Trump and his team real congressmen and real senators to actually codify this in law, or the next time we have a pass around, because this bureaucrat knows what he's not supposed to do. The next one, if we don't have the laws in place,
we'll do
he'll executive order that sucker, and your Chevron deference be damned. So just
exactly.
And that's to make a broader point here. That's why the SAVE Act is actually that important.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
correct.
It's not just it needs to be more than an executive order. There we go.
Correct. And this also has to do with the fact that they've allowed the ability for people to get silencers, or shouldn't say silencer, but a suppressor.
Yeah.
For not having your tax stamp, which used to be a $200 stamp.
They've reduced
stamp.
They've reduced it to zero, which hopefully now the GOA. By the way, I'm an NRA instructor. I'm involved with the NRA, but Gun Owners of America is the one that's actually going to the mat on that issue. Hopefully
big time,
getting your suppressors taken off of ultimately the NFA. So they're doing because your registration was the tax. It was inextricably interlinked with the tax, and now the tax is zero. The registration has no business existing. Hopefully, we can get that removed.
Get the NFA gone, disillusioned, and no more. So that's what they're hoping to do with that. So yes, that would be an excellent thing to do.
And so hopefully SBRs are back on the menu.
That's right, SBRs and a lot of other stuff.
That cut,
so,
producer.
Next one, sir. And here we are. We have a pistol on the bottom, which is considered a pistol. If you'll notice, you have the arm brace, which makes it a pistol. On the top, which is different, which is a short-barreled rifle. If you notice, the stock is different on the two, which is the part you put against your shoulder. Okay.
You're not supposed to shoulder the brace, but we do.
Some people do, and some
happens.
people have a tendency to do that.
But the pistol brace is an accessibility device made by a veteran for someone who had a damaged arm.
Correct.
Due to service. So they were able to slip through, and they were able to hold the gun with one hand.
And shoot.
And most people who own them, though, if it touches your shoulder, I mean, like whatever. So the ATF has been very, very loose with the definition, and they have regulated braces inappropriately. And Loper Bright, the repeal of Chevron deference, ultimately means that they cannot flip a switch. You're a felon. You're not a felon. You're a felon. You're not a felon. I've been a felon multiple times over the last few years just for owning something that I bought legally. And then they flip, flop, based on Chevron deference.
Yep.
And so just because I own it, I am in trouble because now, do I say it out loud at the rate? No. Do I go and volunteer that? Absolutely not. No. But that has now been done away with Loper Bright, which I thought was a very appropriate thing to cover today.
Correct. And what's interesting is that the ATF has a tendency to want to make these laws when all they are bureaucrats.
They're a regulatory body.
And that's all. They can't make it a law.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do is act like it is a law.
They can enforce laws. They cannot make new requirements. And the requirements have to be elucidated in the law, carried out by the executive. And that's what these guys are. They're part of the executive branch, but they have inappropriately been adding color to the law that does not exist.
Correct. And trying to act like they have, like it has been, while they try to do it and make it act like it's a law, and then arrest people and take them to jail. And like John Arthur says, he's a felon, he's not. He's a felon, he's not. When he's actually not, because it's not against the Constitution and no one's actually made it against the law to do.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's bureaucratic overreach.
Correct. And that's where bureaucrats making laws are.
So we've got a great new ATF director for now. We'll see how well he does. Hopefully he rolls some of this back. I know Brandon Herrera would have basically neutered the whole org. And
yeah, and he probably would have nixed the
all of it.
NFA and poof.
But
I'd have been happy with that.
But you can't really nix the NFA. There would have to be a specific way to go about it.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully we'll see. So make sure you're contacting your reps. Make sure that you are pushing right now. Like we said, when the enemy is on their back heel, we need to push, push, push. This guy's pushing on some level. We'll see how well he does. I am cautiously optimistic. I hope it goes well. Now, Ryan,
Yay.
you have a song for us.
I do.
And that was way too loud.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Steve's video was really quiet, so
Yes.
You got to adjust those at the mixer level as well. So we'll work on that, but that's okay.
Oh my!
I apologize.
What? I can't hear you guys.
What song are we reviewing today, bud?
No, okay. Only Wanna Sing by Hillsong Young and Free today.
Only Wanna Sing.
I have not heard this.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Let's
now
go.
this one had some. Well, actually, before we get into this, let me put the camera on myself because it's my
There
segment.
he is. The one and only.
Yeah, it's
Mr.
me
Producer.
with a nice new haircut. My sister did a wonderful job.
You look slick, dude.
Thank you. Thank you. And then, but before we begin, just a reminder of why we do this. Music is a gift from God. It's a very, I would say, big part of life. Mr. Charlie, I believe you said that it's a window to the soul. It's a piece of media, and, the media we consume, we really need to watch what we take in, garbage in, garbage out. Got to watch how much we take in, what's going in. And music is probably the number one piece of media, major piece of media that you need to.
I think
regulate. Is that
what
the
you're
word?
trying to say is music actually promotes emotional feelings.
It bypasses
Yes.
the intellect and it goes
Mhm.
directly to the soul. So be careful of the vapid and shallow dreck that we often
Mhm.
drink right into our soul.
And we do it without
Thinking-
any thought.
Thinking.
Yeah. Without prepping ourselves for it. So
Yeah.
and this is an example of that. So go ahead.
Yeah, but also one more thing. We do this not to be critical, but just to be analytical.
Thoughtful.
Thoughtful, exactly. So let's get into it here, starting off verse 1. This is no performance. Lord, I pray it's worship, empty words I can't afford. I'm not chasing feelings. That's not why I'm singing. You're the reason for my song.
I'm and here's the issue that I
Milky.
have with and
okay.
that's it right there.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
When you think about what the angels are doing before the throne right now.
Holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The earth is filled with his glory. So break
it
down
just
the word
repeats.
holy. Break down the word holy of a different world, of a perfect righteousness, of something that is set apart from this world in a way that is totally different and it is transformative. The earth is filled with the presence of this other thing that is set apart and different.
Yes.
That is a strong statement.
Absolutely.
Now, this is no performance. I don't mind that as a testimonial. I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So far, it's got a 5 out of 10 for me.
5 out of 10. Yeah. So I picked this song today because you look at the lyrics, and some of it is like some of what they're saying is what we criticize a lot of modern worship music for being or sounding like. Like it when you watch these music videos, the fog and the lights and all that, it looks like
Yep.
they're trying to perform. The focus is on self, on chasing feelings, not on God, and putting the focus all on Him, not on yourself, right? So I thought it was interesting that like Hillsong, one of the big worship groups nowadays, would put out a song with these kind of lyrics.
Go back to that verse for just a moment.
Yeah.
Because here's
there we go.
what empty words I can't afford. I'm not chasing feelings.
But by definition, you're spending your time expressing your feelings instead of God's holiness.
That's it. Yeah.
And so that's where I come down to. This is the expressive song. I don't mind expressive songs in this one sense.
Mm-hmm.
David the psalmist and the sons of Asaph, the sons of Korah, they did write expressive songs about their thoughts and their feelings, but the thought wasn't about the experience. The thought was exalting what that glory is doing in the life. And it's hard to articulate. And this is why this is a great exercise for everyone here, as well as hopefully you're listening and you feel edified by this as well. But it's an exercise of what is me singing about the goodness of God in my life versus me singing about my feelings and experience. Which one do I exalt? Do I exalt the feelings that I have, or do I exalt the one who is ultimately giving me all good things? Because that is a very easy line to blur.
Yeah.
And so
it's kind of a slippery slope.
It's a
very easy to slide down that.
It's easy to make a mistake.
That goes right to the heart of why we do this analytical exercise. Because folks, when you're turning on the radio and you're just listening to whatever, you've got a great beat. And
the song sounds pretty fun and upbeat too. If you listen,
you're just going.
And by the way, Dawn of a New Day asked, "Can we submit songs for review?" Go over to our YouTube or our Rumble. We've actually already done listener reviews, so drop something in, and we will go to our channel because we'll catch it there. If you do it in the live chat over at PSB, we may or may not see it. But go ahead and make sure you just drop it over at YouTube or Rumble at Further Every Day, and we'll absolutely do it. The other thing that Dawn of a New Day says is Hillsong. Isn't that the church that Justin Bieber goes to? I don't know, because I don't trust that church. I don't know. My point is Hillsong, Bethel, and Elevation are 3 churches that I watch for. Hillsong has made some really good songs.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, of the 3, I would say Hillsong's probably my favorite.
Hillsong is not a cult. Bethel is a cult. I will stand by that. Elevation, Steve Furtick has got some very heretical theology. I'll say, I'm not here to put someone down, but he's got theology that I think is really corrosive and toxic. Bethel is actually a cult. Hillsong is a evangelical, kind of limp-wristed Christian producer. They used to do really good stuff, but a lay pastor friend of mine said it this way. He says, before they were under the pressure to create album after album after album, their music became their job and not their vocation. That's when the music started to slide. And I think it was fine music. It's not the greatest music ever. It's fine music. Way back when they first started. This is milky. Like, this is real. And the next verse, I went ahead and read ahead, is kind of rough. But let's get to the chorus.
It's production music.
Excuse me.
It's production music, yeah.
I want to say something real quick. This is Excuse me, something caught in my throat. This is one
Need some
reason
water.
why me and our good friend Winston Powers, we're working on our songs, that we really don't want to get involved with like a big label or anything like that. We just like want to put them out on like YouTube or something like that, because we don't want anyone telling us what to do, when to put out albums and all that. We want to make sure we take time, even if it's a lot of time. We want to make sure there's a lot of thought and care put into our songs. Like, John Arthur, you know this. Like, whenever I write a song, I always have you and Winston, maybe a couple other people, check the theology.
Yep.
Because I want to make sure it's quality. I want to make sure what I'm saying is correct and biblical. I want to make sure time and care goes into the songs that I write.
Yeah. And they need to be in time and care goes into the songs, hopefully, that your worship pastor picks or your worship minister picks as well.
All right, next. The chorus, and I only want to sing if I sing with everything, if I sing for you, my king. And I can't imagine why I would do this all for hype, because it's all to lift you high. Now, when you look up the music video for this song, the part why would I do this all for hype sounds kind of funny to me, because, they have the fog and the lights going and all that. I feel like the message of this song would have been way more effective had you sung it in just not like this big worship arena, but just a little intimate group of people in like this nice little room with.
Again, that's the cultural difference that we have.
Yes.
And look, I want to be really careful here. I don't want to condemn anyone. I believe that excellence in art is a Christian
It's a
virtue.
good thing.
It is a virtue.
Mhm.
However, sometimes I believe that we lose the sight of we're leading people into worship as opposed to performing.
Right.
And there is a vast difference. There's a time for performance, and that's one type. When someone's in the church, and so the question is, what are you doing? Are you performing or are you leading in worship?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be really cautious with that.
And that's why I go back to, what are they doing around the throne?
Yep.
There's no talking about me. There's no talking about my feelings. There's no talking about singing on high or giving it to my all. No. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty.
You know what's the first thing that comes to my mind when I see the words to these songs is I'm trying to defend why I'm singing.
Well,
I'm trying to
think
defend
you're right.
myself here. I'm not, that because we talk about this all the time about a lot of these songs about me, 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 me. And this sounds like I'm trying to defend.
Let's look at the next verse, because we also got to get to the screw tape letters. And this next verse, I think, is really important in the diagnosis.
Verse 2, you don't want perfection, just my soul's attention. So all I have is what I'll give. More than a song that lasts a moment, I'll live a life of honest worship. If I'm here to sing, then I'll sing with purpose. All the praise, Lord, you deserve it.
So
If your life backs it up, you're good.
Yeah, you don't want perfection. Actually, he demands submission. And you don't want perfection. You don't demand perfection, but he demands submission. This is one of those things where I'm not going to get too stickler on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think that it's limp-wristed Christianity. I think it's well-meaning, and I have nothing against it, but it's just
Don't even have
limp-wristed.
anything against the people.
No,
I mean,
no.
It's not that. It's that. And I want to be clear here.
Can we be nice and say, hey, we love the Kendrick brothers and we love what they're doing, but some of their first movies were kind of
corny?
They were corny, a little bit, and they've gotten better.
Yes.
And can we applaud them for getting better and say, hey, we can do even better? Like,
But they started it.
But they started it, and they started doing something good on them. And so it's not to tear down. It's to say, like, Christian media has fallen into this hole where, because it has the Christian label on it, it can be mediocre. And if you don't, and if, well, not just accepted, it's praised as excellent, even when it's not. And you want to be able to say, that's great. Let's do better. I'm glad that you're doing it. This is great that you're doing it. Let's hold you to the same standard we would hold Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber.
Let's look at us,
or even higher
podcast.
With art and media, there is a subjective matter of opinion side to it, but there's also an objective.
No one listens to Mozart or Bach and says, oh, that's awful. Everyone who listens to it, at least they'll say it's not my thing.
Yeah,
but
it's not my thing, but I know objectively it's pretty good.
Objectively. So let's focus on objective truth, on objective beauty.
And you know what I was thinking about last night, actually? I was like, why is the best Christian movie not made by Christians? That I'm talking about The Prince of Egypt.
Oh, that is one of the best Christian
Like-
movies ever. And it was made by DreamWorks
Yeah.
because they have a standard of excellence, and there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood. So I think it probably was partly done by, I've got to go back and verify who all wrote that.
Yeah.
But I bet there were a few Jews involved. They've really put their passion into it because it's as much a Jewish story as it is a Christian story.
Right.
So I suspect that's partly why. Just saying, I haven't looked into it enough. I need to look into it more. I'm sure the Jews were involved in that,
Yes.
and so they did a good job.
Mm.
But yeah, that's a good song.
Yes.
So it's not a great song. It's a
Not a great song, but I think a good song.
It's fine.
Like you said, well-meaning. I think it's got some really good lyrics.
It's fine. It's good enough. On to the screw tape letters because we must.
We're doing the screw tape.
We must needs go. We must needs go.
Oh,
So let's go and get into it. This is chapter 26. And if you are just joining us, the Screw Tape Letters, written by C.S. Lewis, are a set of correspondence between two hypothetical demons. The elder is Screwtape and the younger is Wormwood. In these correspondence, Screwtape encourages Wormwood in how best to tempt Wormwood's human patient, a young man in the World War II era of Britain. In this sort of conversation, Lewis explores the base temptations of man and how Satan and his tempters may indeed think about our own existence and how they may work to tempt the souls of man. Now, this is a very interesting chapter 26. It says 25, 26 is about the vulnerability of false altruism, pride, and familial love. So remember, this is, if you're just joining us, you have not gone through the Screw Tape Letters with us, it's interesting. We're going from the perspective of two demons. So the elder writes to the younger, my dear Wormwood. Yes, courtship, this young man has become a Christian and he's dating a Christian lady. Yes, courtship is the time for sowing these seeds, which will grow up 10 years later into domestic hatred. The enchantment of unsatisfied desire produces results which humans can be made to mistake for the results of charity. Avail yourself of the ambiguity in the word love. Let them think that they have solved by love problems they have in fact only waived or postponed under the influence of the enchantment. While it lasts, you have your chance to foment the problems in secret and render them chronic. Guys, it is not loving to ignore something about your spouse that is bad. If your spouse is violating a boundary, if your friend is violating a boundary, if your boss saying, I love them, therefore I will not deal with this boundary violation, you are lying to yourself. It is not a matter of love. It's a matter of you don't want the inconvenience of having the hard conversation. Next cut, Mr. Producer. The grand problem is that of quote unquote unselfishness. Note once again the admirable work of our philological arm in substituting the negative unselfishness for the enemy's positive charity. Thanks to this, you can, from the very outset, teach a man to surrender the benefits of them. The benefits, not that others may be happy in having them, but that he may be unselfish in foregoing them. That is a great point gained. Another great help, where the parties concerned are male and female, is a divergence of view about unselfishness, which we have built up between the sexes. A woman means by unselfishness chiefly taking trouble for others. A man means not giving trouble to others. As a result, a woman who is quite far gone in the enemy's service will make a nuisance of herself on a larger scale than any man except those whom our Father has dominated completely. And conversely, a man will live long in the enemy's camp before he undertakes as much spontaneous work to please others as a quite ordinary woman may do every day. Thus, while the woman thinks of doing good offices and the man of respecting other people's rights, each sex, without obvious unreason, can and does regard the other as radically selfish. The difference between men and women. We process things differently and we have different roles. So jealousy is where the enemy of our souls can find a place for his wedge. and where he can slowly degrade the relationship and damage, whether it's marriage or whether it's friendship. But specifically in marriage, this is what Lewis is writing to here. Next cut, Mr. Producer. On top of these confusions, you can now introduce a few more. The erotic enchantment produces a mutual complacence in which each is really pleased to give in to the other wishes of the other. They also know the enemy demands of them a degree of charity, which, if attained, would result in similar actions. You must make them establish as a law for their whole married life that degree of mutual self-sacrifice, which is at present sprouting naturally out of the enchantment, the honeymoon phase, but which, when the enchantment dies away, they will not have charity enough to enable them to perform. They will not see the trap, since they are under the double blindness of mistaking sexual excitement for charity and thinking that the excitement will last. When once a sort of official, legal, or nominal unselfishness has been established as a rule for the keeping of which their emotional resources have died away and their spiritual resources have not yet grown, the most delightful results follow. In discussing any joint action, it becomes obligatory that A should argue in favor of B's supposed wishes against his own, while B does the opposite. Do you see what Lewis is setting up here?
Lewis is absolutely unequivocally brilliant
And
in
on
explaining
point.
this.
Because
Exactly.
the man will do something for the wife. This is what you wanted. And she's going to say, no, it's not. What I said was. And now
Put that slide at the end.
and now she's the bad, and now they're both the bad guy in each other's eyes, right? So continuing on, time. It is often impossible to find out either party's real wishes. With luck, they end up doing something that neither wants, while each feels a glow of self-righteousness and harbors a secret claim to preferential treatment for the unselfishness shown and a secret grudge against the other for the ease with which the sacrifice has been accepted. Later on, you can venture on what may be called the generous conflict illusion. This game is best played with more than 2 players in a family with grown-up children, for example.
Wow.
Something quite trivial, like having tea in the garden, is proposed. One member takes care to make it quite clear, though not in so many words, that he would rather not, but is, of course, prepared to do so out of quote-unquote unselfishness. The other instantly withdraw their proposal, ostensibly through their quote-unquote unselfishness, but really because they don't want to be used as a sort of lay figure on which the first speaker practices petty altruisms. But he is not going to be done out of his debauch of unselfishness either. He insists on doing, quote unquote, whatever the other one wants.
You have to wonder if he was not a psychologist.
Well, he's a studier of man.
He is.
Spirit. And I think Lewis is, here's the thing. I think we do a disservice by saying the canon is closed. I think people can speak under the influence of the Holy Spirit, but it's not canonized. I don't
disagree with that.
It only happens when someone is fully submitted to the Lord. But let's continue on, lest we run over time. It is often impossible to find out either party's real wishes. With luck, they end by doing something that neither wants, while each feels a glow of self-righteousness and harbors secret claim to preferential treatment for the unselfishness shown. Wait.
We read this.
Next one. Sorry. Thank you. Help me out here. I'm tired. A sensible human once said, if people knew how much ill-feeling unselfishness occasions, it would not be so often recommended from the pulpit. And again, she's the sort of woman who lives for others. You can always tell the others by their hunted expression. All this can be begun even in the period of courtship. A little real selfishness on your patient's part is often of less value in the long run for securing his soul than the first beginnings of that elaborate self-consciousness, unselfishness, which may one day blossom into the sort of thing I have described. Some degree of mutual falseness, some surprise that the girl does not always notice just how unselfish he is being can be smuggled in already. Cherish these things, and above all, do not let the young fools notice them. If they notice them, they will be on the road to discovering that quote unquote love is not enough, that charity is needed and not yet achieved, and that no external law can supply its place. I wish Slim Trumpet could do something about undermining that young woman's sense of the ridiculous. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. Just final thoughts for the day, Miss Nikki.
I think that we had a really good time today. It was fun.
We had fun.
We did. I would just say that learning in the Nikki Knows Facts, I'm learning things that, I like history, so I know a lot about history, but there were some things today that I learned that were new, and I love that.
That's good stuff. Steve.
Yeah, it's just good to see that the ATF is being put back in their place, and we've got a
I agree.
director that's able to see that firearms owners are actually the ones that are honest people,
Correct.
not the thieves.
Ryan, go.
I just really liked everything we talked about today. Don't have time to go too deep into my closing thoughts, but
So, dear man, I see your comment there. We will answer that question next week. I assure you, we will not let go of that. We will answer that question next week.
Absolutely. Suffice it to say, guys, make sure that you are ready with an answer for what you believe. This week,
That was mean to me. I teased him, and I
you
told
teased
him
him,
to
and
bring it back.
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, so Charlie's not ready with an answer for what he believes. I'm kidding, but it's 3:00, and
And we're
we
up
do
against the time.
need to go. So, with that said, be ready with an answer for why you believe what you believe, and know this: that if you are on God's side, no one can stand against you. Love you so much. You have a beautiful week.